Hello and welcome to All Indians Matter. I am Ashraf Engineer. Studies show that more than 23,000 millionaires have left India since 2014, and that nearly 7,000 left in 2019 alone. Since 2015, nearly 9 lakh Indians have given up their citizenship. Before the 1991 economic reforms, India suffered from a serious case of brain drain that was reversed as the country made rapid progress on the economic and social fronts. Today, India faces a brain drain again, witnessing the sharpest rise in people migrating overseas at nearly 1 crore between 2000 and 2020, according to the International Migration 2020 Highlights report issued by the Population Division of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs in January 2021. Why is India losing its best minds and most prosperous citizens? And where are they going?
All Indians matter.
We have on the show Saadat Shaikh, who is based in Mumbai and advises high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals and families on residence and citizenship planning and building and maintaining relationships with wealth management firms, tax advisories, law firms, private banks, and family offices. Having worked in London, Dubai, and Mumbai in investment migration with different nationalities and cultures, Saadat has a truly global perspective. He had a recent stint with Henley and Partners, the global leader in residence and citizenship by investment. Welcome to the show, Sadat.
Thank you for having me, Ashraf. Hello, everyone.
Sadat, there seems to be a renewed vigor in Indians, especially the qualified and the well-to-do, looking to leave and take up citizenship of other countries. What is driving them to do so?
A good question, Ashraf. Historically speaking, we as Indians, we've been quite attracted towards the English-speaking countries, mostly the US, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. A lot of the investment migration programs have started in the 80s and 90s. So people are more familiar and accustomed with, of course, the English speaking countries. Now, recently, there has been quite a lot of new options coming up, and people are now looking at it a lot of from different perspectives. It is to do with education for kids. People want to plan for that. They want to plan for the future. It is about diversification of assets, wealth preservation, access to healthcare. So each to their own, each and every family has their own agenda. So I kind of connect and understand what the requirement is, what fits in, and advise them accordingly.
Sadat, which are the most preferred destinations and which are the new emerging ones and why?
Right. So the preferred destinations, like I mentioned, US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, these have been quite popular. And there are different reasons for why these options are popular. Recently, in the last few years, let's say we talk about the US, in 2019, there had been some changes during the Biden administration, wherein the Trump administration had raised the investment amount, and we had seen double the investors invest in the US because there was a $400,000 reduction in the investment amount, which is quite significant for Indian investors. It has gone back up now in the last few months, so it is more than 850,000 US dollars. So what people look at is, of course, what is comfortable in terms of the financial capacity, the proximity of the country, the options for the children themselves, and how there is a lot of reasons. So to answer the question, I would say USA is still definitely one of the options. Portugal has come up quite a lot. It's a new option that has entered the market really well. It was launched in 2012. By the time people got the citizenships after 5 years, it's been like 2018, 2019, 2020. So now people are seeing that people are getting the citizenships of a European country. So that is pretty comfortable as well. And the emerging ones, like I said, each and every family and individual have their own agenda. People come with different reasons. Some people are looking to expand their business. Some people are looking to travel and expedite their traveling rather than applying for visas. So then people might also go for the Caribbean options, like Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Grenada, Dominica. These options, they are countries which can help you access their citizenship starting from $100,000 to $150,000 of donation or an investment in real estate. So each and every country has a different investment requirement, physical presence requirement, Some of them have language requirements and so forth. So, yeah, to answer the question, Western countries, Portugal is the new one that is coming up very strongly. And for other investors who are not looking to completely relocate, Greece, Turkey, Malta, these options are also becoming a bit popular now.
I know you've already spoken about the reasons that people move for. Are there any others that people are looking at when they take up citizenship elsewhere or simply move?
Yeah, it's about, basically hedging the sovereign risk, having access to healthcare. In the last 2 years, everyone witnessed the pandemic. Each and every country reacted differently. So there's a lot of my clients who have been rethinking where the travels have been restricted, and they would love to have access to first world countries' healthcare. So that is something that has come up. Some people have taken it to heart, and they would really like to have an alternative residence. What's interesting is, most of my clients, I would say around 60% of them, maybe even more, they don't relocate. They like to have a backup plan. And, I can answer this more in depth in the later conversation on what do they evaluate, what do they look up to, and what do they compare this with in terms of investment options.
Sure, we'll do that. But before we do that, Sadat, are you seeing a lot more highly qualified people looking to leave than before? And if yes, then why?
Yes, that is there because now what's happening is a lot of the countries, they've realized how things have changed in the last 2 years. So now countries are coming up with new programs that target talent. To give you an example, Australia, quite a few people from India, from Mumbai, have acquired the Australian, it's called the Global Talent Individual. That is based on 10 specific industries. I'll just name a few popular ones. They are interested in people from digitech, agrotech, circular economy, defense, advanced manufacturing, fintech, also now blockchain industry. So these are the interests they're coming up with. UK is coming up with another talent visa. Now there are different requirements in terms of age, their annual salaries, their presence, and different requirements. If they tick the box, they can get permanent residence without an investment. Like I've been pretty successful in helping my clients with Australia. Canada does not have much, but let's say the Bollywood fraternity, they can also get access to visas based on their profiles. So that is another industry that people are getting alternative residences.
And is the demand for migration coming only from the large cities, or are you seeing inquiries from smaller towns too?
Now, we've mainly dealt with Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Gujarat, and yes, there are India is big, big, big market, and there's a lot of new millionaires coming up every month. So people are aware. It's just that the lower, the other pockets are not yet that strongly coming in as in compared to the large cities yet.
And which qualifications are most in demand abroad?
Like I said, particularly for Australia, it's from the fintech background, digitech, anything to do with tech is something that is preferred. Healthcare, healthcare is another industry. Circular economy, defense, advanced manufacturing, and I think these are the major ones where people are getting the. Like to give you the statistics, Australia has granted more than 8,000 talent visas globally, which is a significant number. And these individuals just qualify. So they are giving these visas to those individuals so that the country benefits from their expertise, their network, their talent. And also not to forget Dubai. Dubai is also actively helping such talented individuals get a golden visa.
Right. And what are the different routes Indians could employ to get citizenships elsewhere? For instance, we are seeing a lot of nations offering residency or citizenship based on investments made there, as you've already mentioned.
Good question. I would just like to take a step back to differentiate the two things. So, one is a citizenship planning, and the other is residence planning. A residence plan is where one can, live, study, work, and retire. So, with a residence permit, Ashraf, you can go to one of the countries, you can settle there, you can live the 365 days all your life, no problem. In your residence permit, you would still have your passport, the Indian passport, and you would have access to that country. depending on the country's requirement. Some countries they ask you to stay 6 months, 8 months, every year. Some of the countries like Portugal only 1 week a year, which is pretty convenient. And it depends on country to country where you can get your citizenship. So after you get your residence, you can qualify for a citizenship. Now, citizenship is where you get the passport for of another country. Now, bear in mind, we've touched this, so it's important to understand we as Indians, we don't have the option of dual citizenship. So anyone who applies for another passport has to surrender the Indian passport by the law, unlike the European or Western countries where you can hold dual citizenship. So that is again comes in the plan where people involve, their advisors, chartered accountants, tax advisors to consult and then to move accordingly.
And how does someone like you step in? How do you help people who wish to move?
So this is an fairly uncharted territory for most of the people. Someone like me is there to handhold the client from end to end, from start to finish, helping them identify different providers, helping them identify the right properties. It's a very important relationship where there's a lot of trust that the client puts in, and it's a highly responsible job for us. So we make no mistake. We go by the book. We do our due diligences. Once they qualify, there's no adverse findings, and they clear the due diligence checks. Only then can we on board. Our job is to help them, and I always tell my clients, I'll only on board you if I see a smile on your face and you're happy. That's the kind of relationship we want. So yeah, our job is because these relationships last 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depends on the country. People are going to that country trusting you, so I feel humbled as well when they trust me, and I do make sure that we leave no stone unturned in regards from the foreign perspective or the Indian perspective, and how to plan that, because there's a lot of goals that are aligned with this. The family goals, their business goals, kids goals, future plans, retirement plans, asset diversification, wealth preservation. Most of the things are kind of entangled in this, so you got to make sure that this move is the right move for the family. Most of the times I've advised the families to wait it out. Some people have just quickly simply denied, well, this might not be the best option for you. Because some people, there are so many different families, from like say high net worth to the ultra high net worth. I've come across families who have, their visas have been rejected because they've tried methods which did not work out for them. So it's a very critical job, because once your application gets rejected or denied, then that's not a nice thing to have and go back.
Right. And what kind of documentation do people typically require?
So most of the times, it's your birth certificates, marriage certificates, your source of income, the most important document, and your residence proofs, apostling the documents, notarizing the documents, blood reports eventually, police clearance reports, and many others. These are the major ones. And yeah, there's a lot of people in India. There are different individuals and firms who help the clients with this.
And typically, what would it cost? What would the range be?
Right. Now, let's say if you're looking at, I'll talk about the popular ones, the US. US, there's a program called the EB5. EB5 program will cost you $850,000 upwards. Usually, this investment goes into a regional center, or it is a direct investment, goes into a project. The industries that it is invested in: hospitality, tourism, healthcare, and others. So that's for the US. The processing times for the US are fairly longer. I would say around 18 months just for the processing. So clients need to be prepared before they get anything. Now, if you're looking at Europe, a residence permit of Greece can start with 250,000 euros. Portugal starts from 280,000 euros. So in Indian rupees, you're looking at somewhere around 3.2 crore onwards. So this is for Portugal, and this is a pure investment. Now there are countries where ultra HNIs. Okay, I'll rephrase it differently. The acquisition of the citizenship is, the higher the investment, the quicker you can get it. It's kind of inversely proportional. Some countries are also, asking for a pure contribution, non-refundable contribution, like a donation. Let's say Malta. Malta's donation is 750,000 euros onwards. but then you get the citizenship in about 2 years approximately. It is a task. It is a long term preparation. Malta citizenship is not that easy as compared to the others. And then we can look at countries like the Caribbean. Now, usually, the individuals who are applying for the Caribbean countries are business owners. This is another interesting thing that I've noticed is in my first few years, only business owners were onboarding, but now I have C-level executives of different industries onboarding, and they do compare the investment options between what they have in India and what's outside. So let's say if someone is looking to buy a two-bed apartment in Mumbai with a good developer, I doubt you might be finding something less than 5 crores in a good location.
Very unlikely, yeah.
Yeah, and most of them would be under construction. So people also have this concern because our Indian investors, they have dealt with a very different market. Many of them have burned their fingers over here with different industries, so they're very, very cautious. It's very different over there. There is a lot of protection for the investor in that country. So now, if you're looking at the rental yields of Mumbai, we're looking at somewhere around 1.8, 2.2%. The market is highly saturated. Now, people do compare this with, of course, different investment options, stocks, which is highly volatile, or mutual funds, or gold, or crypto. Whereas, let's say if you're investing in Europe, you invest in a real estate asset, you're the beneficiary owner. Regardless, let's say worst case scenario, the application goes south, but the property still belongs to you. You can manage to get around 3% or 4% rental yields in that market. So, and again, that is coming in euros. But a very important thing to also take in consideration is the currency, on in which currency you're getting paid. Unfortunately, our currency is a depreciating currency over time, as we know. So returns from an appreciating currency is again a benefit. So yeah, depending from country to country, Portugal 280,000 euros, Greece 250,000 euros, US somewhere around $850,000 plus. Malta will end up costing at least €1 million, and that is a pure cost. But Malta does also have a residence program. Okay, one more thing I forgot to mention is, in the emerging options, why is Portugal that favorable? Now, what's surprising is we've noticed in the last year, there's a lot of Brits and Americans also applying for Portugal. Different reasons for them as well. But one thing is there that this particular country, your residence requirement is only 7 days a year compared to the English speaking countries where you must reside there for 8 months for every year for 5 years. Here, you do 1 week in 1 year, that's 35 days in 5 years, and you tick one of the boxes. Now that is the exact requirement from the country, but I always advise my clients to do at least 10 days a year. If they're planning for a citizenship at the end of year 5, there is a language test called the A2 levels, which is very basic. One of my clients is 55 years old, very humble, Maharashtrian businessman. He's cleared his A2 levels in 2 months. It's not that difficult. So depending on the agenda of the client, it's very important to manage the expectations and plan their path and be by their side accordingly. The other countries, I would say the Caribbean. Now, a lot of the clients from Dubai, India, Southeast Asia apply for these citizenships because they would like to expedite their business processes by making travel easier. Let's say the Caribbean countries will give you access to more than 150 countries. Now, put this into perspective. Where does our Indian passport stand? And how do we compare this with the others? Our passport is ranked, around 85th on the passport index. What is that based on? That is based on how many countries we can travel as an Indian. That's 58 countries that we can travel. Now, let's say if you go for a Caribbean citizenship, you have access to more than 140, 150 countries, which includes the European Union, Hong Kong, Singapore, in some cases, Russia and China, the United Kingdom, but not US, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. These citizenships of the Caribbean can be acquired in 6 to 8 months, start to end. The processing times are like 3 to 4 months, 3 to 6 months, and so forth. And the investment amounts are $100,000 to $150,000. That is donation. If they want to have a real estate investment, it would go from $220,000 onwards. There is, I know of more than 40 countries that offer the citizenship and residence programs. As it would take all day and night if I start speaking about everyone. So I've just picked on the few popular ones. Turkey is also an interesting, option for quite a few people where they're looking for the citizenship. Again, there is no residence requirement for Turkey, like the Caribbean. It's based on you get the citizenship by investment in real estate. And of course, the Southeast Asian countries, people are also looking at Malaysia, Singapore. South Korea has also had quite a few investors going in. And new programs are coming up, programs are changing. I mean, it's a pretty interesting industry to work in because there's so many options that come in. And like the US, people did make the best use of it in 2019, where more than double the people invested compared to the other years because of the price reduction. If people are aware and they time it right, it's a very good option.
It's fascinating, Sadat. I actually want to come back to the reasons for people moving in the first place. Do you think at least a part of this urge to leave comes from a lack of faith in the Indian economy, at least in the short and medium term?
I would say people want a backup plan to kind of manage the risks. That's what people eventually, everyone wants a backup plan, and this kind of gives them the comfort where they have an asset and a residence, a place where they can go live, do business, and they're welcome in that country. So yeah, people want to hedge the sovereign risk. So any kind of uncertainty in any country drives the migration. As we've seen in the neighboring countries, unfortunate circumstances, people are looking to relocate. The wealthy ones want a backup plan. So these are the things very important, of course. But yeah, person to person, everyone has their own agenda. But some people do have those concerns as well.
And what about social concerns? India is suffering from great social turmoil. Is this a factor too?
Well, what's interesting is all my clients, highly educated, well-to-do business owners and C-level executives. I haven't heard them tell directly, so I'm not entirely sure if that would be the reason. But they always want the best for the kids, the best for the families, and of course the best for themselves with their hard-earned money. And that's what they look for: safety, wealth preservation, diversification of risk and assets. So these are the points that tick the box for them.
So, Sadat, here's a question I ask all my guests at the end of the conversation. Why do you do this work?
I'm a GCC kid. I was born and brought up between Riyadh and Dubai. I moved to India in 2000, did my graduation from here. And then I moved to London, lived and worked there. I've traveled Europe. Then I was in Dubai working for a British company. I came to India. I've worked in the luxury real estate market as well. That helped me connect with the local investors. And then I was given the opportunity to enter this market. And I truly relate with my clients and I connect with them. I think the most important thing is compassion and gratitude. I believe in these two things pretty strongly. And that's, I enjoy helping a client, providing them true value. And I enjoy seeing happy faces at the end of it. That's what makes me work.
Sadat, thanks so much for helping us understand what motivates people to give up their citizenship or look to settle elsewhere.
Thanks for having me, Ashraf. What motivates people to apply for another residence or citizenship is education planning for kids, future planning, retirement planning, diversification of assets, business expansion, and more. I'm more than happy to help anyone in this space who is looking to or has any kind of questions in this. You can easily reach me at saadatsk@hotmail.co.uk or connect with me on LinkedIn, Saadat Shaikh. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. Please visit allindiansmatter.in, that's ALLINDIANSMATTER.in for more columns and audio podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at Ashraf Engineer, that's ASHRAFENGINEER, and All Indians Count, that's ALLINDIANSCOUNT. Search for the All Indians Matter page on Facebook. On Instagram, the handle is All Indians Matter. Email me at editor@allindiansmatter.in. Catch you again soon.